I'm Lieutenant Commander Kate Cunningham, and today I'm going to talk through the first department head slating process. I'll cover the following: 1DH slate timing, prospective billet list, slating calculation, and slate announcement. The timelines for slating and orders for each department head class can be found on the My Navy HR PERS 412 page. Department head class convenings are projected out through calendar year 2028, and the specific dates of each class get updated with the annual release of the SWISC Course Convenings Note. The convening PDF includes when the prospective billet list and approved slate will be emailed out to the class, along with when to expect PCS orders to Newport and to your ship. Department heads slate 3 months prior to their department head class convening and 12 to 18 months prior to reporting to their ship, depending on the length of their training track following department head school. Department heads used to slate 5 to 6 months prior to their department head class convening, but this led to excessive reslates in each class. Since this slate timing shift, classes are averaging 5 reslates per class of 55 to 60 students. These reslates are triggered by unplanned losses in the fleet, such as limb-due or medical losses, detachments for cause, and training track failures. We notify reslated officers once the reslate determination has been officially made. If the reslate trigger was not caused by the officer, we make every effort to keep them inbound to their original home port or revised billet platform location preference, which gets discussed during the reslate notification. Reslates have drastically decreased over the last few years, but please refrain from buying a house or making a large financial change based on your slated home port until you have PCS orders to your ship. If an officer fails out of the LCS training track, there is no guarantee that they can be reslated to their original home port. The prospective billet list gets emailed out to each class by the 1DH detailer. NSIPs and NFAS feed our system's contact information, so please ensure you have updated both of those profiles with your current email and phone number, since several officers may have already detached from their current command and are PCSing to Newport when the slating emails go out. The attached prospective billet list contains the names of all the students in that department head class, important dates, amplifying information on training tracks, the list of available billets that will be filled by that class, and guidance on submitting your preference sheet. Here's an example billet list. It contains the available home port billet platforms that align to that class's training track timelines. Specific ship names and the number of each of those options listed are not included. That buys the 1DH detailer maximum flexibility to match your preferences and career needs to the options available in the fleet. For example, your number one preference may not be listed on your class's billet list, or there was initially just one billet type designated for your class on the 1DH detailer's master tracker, and someone ranked higher on the slate already got it. The 1DH detailer can now look ahead at the next class, or an unplanned loss on an earlier class that will still work with your training timing by plus or minus a couple months and get you your number one preference. This is why your preference sheet is so important in this process. By September 2022, all chief engineer billets listed on slates will be 36-month single longer tours. If you have any questions regarding specific billets included on your prospective billet list, please contact the 1DH detailer prior to submitting your preference sheet. A preference sheet will be attached to the prospective billet list email. Please read the entirety of the email instructions prior to filling out your preference sheet. Please do not change the format of the sheet and ensure you keep your submission to one page only. We're looking at the top portion of an example preference sheet. After reviewing the prospective billet list, please list your top 15 billets in order of preference. The time for describing your dream job, if it's not listed, comes later in the preference sheet. Please only include available billets for your class on this initial list. After you've prioritized your top 15 billets, please include if you have an EOW or TAO qualification. Verify this information in your record by logging into BOL and review your Officer Summary Report, or OSR. Your EOW and TAO qualifications should be listed under Advanced Qualifications on your OSR. If they're not there, but you earned that qualification, please submit the respective designation letter when you submit your completed preference sheet. This ensures you get the correct points added to your slating calculation and ensures we know you're eligible to slate to a Chang billet if you've earned your EOW qualification. Include how many dependents you have. We compare this to our order writing system, so your dependents are accounted for if you receive OCONUS orders to your ship. We verify this information again with you when you are in Newport. Include if you have completed a WTI course of instruction and if you have already completed a WTI production tour and trained on a specific platform or combat systems baseline. This does not impact the Slate ranking calculation, but if multiple officers in the same class want a DDG San Diego WEPS billet and there are multiple available to officers that would all get that billet based on their rankings, it makes more sense to detail the IAMD WITI that's been training the fleet on baseline 9 to the baseline 9 ship that's available for that department head class. Now for the bottom of the preference sheet. Tell us your overall duty preferences and please list 3 in each category. Please do not try to game the system by only listing 1 or 2 category preferences. This leaves us to assume all other options are ranked number 2 or 3. You'd be limiting your ability to communicate how we should proceed if that home port, platform, or job has closed out by the time we've reached your name on the slate. Include a short why behind your preference priorities. Please communicate if your spouse has career location limitations and include why you generally listed your duty preferences in the order that you did. Include anything that you want us to know in the slating process, but please keep this preference sheet to 1 page. Your top 15 preference list and write-ups get routed through the slate approval process and get individually briefed to the PERS 41 director. Please be consistent through your preference sheet. We routinely see a conflict of priorities between the top 15 list, the duty preferences, and the write-ups. Have an objective party read your preference sheet prior to submitting it to ensure your priorities are being correctly communicated. We also see a conflict between preferences and what's available in the fleet. For instance, home port priority will be Pearl Harbor, platform priority will be an LPD, and job priority will be First Lieutenant. This combination does not exist in the fleet and makes it difficult for us to best match what is available based on your submission. Example first and second department head billets can be found on our My Navy HR page here. After your preference sheet is complete, please email it to the specific addresses outlined in the email and submit it ahead of the due date. Preference sheet submissions are due 10 days after the prospective billet list has been sent to the class. While the class is working on their preference sheets, the 1DH detailer is working on the slate rankings. The slate rankings begin by finding the best competitive 2nd Division Officer fit rep, which means the 2nd Division Officer fit rep that has the most positive delta between individual summary average and the reporting senior's cumulative average, or RISCA. That fit rep data is manually added into an Excel spreadsheet along with the quality points for EOW, TAO, early command selection, and special circumstances. EOW, TAO, and early command AQDs all add 1 quality point. Special circumstances add a half point and apply to reservists, former LDOs, Track 4 officers, and any officer who started their 2nd Division Officer tour as a lieutenant. The final lieutenant junior grade fit rep is traditionally the best DIVO fit rep. The special circumstances listed prevented those officers from getting that typically advantageous report. If you have a question about which fit rep will be used for your calculation, please contact the 1DH detailer. After each slating officer's information is inputted by the 1DH detailer, the slating calculation is ran, which is 2 times the highest individual summary average compared to RISCA, plus 0.5 times the quality points. Let's walk through an example. We're only looking at competitive afloat 2nd tour DIVO fit reps on this PSR to find the largest positive delta between their individual summary average and RISCA. This final lieutenant junior grade fit rep has the largest positive delta, 4.86 individual summary average compared to the 3.96 RISCA is a positive difference of 0.9. This officer has their EL qualification. 2 times 0.9 plus 0.5 times 1 is 2.95. Every class ranking is different and every class's preference trends are different, but historically the top third of slates have a slate number of 2.9 or higher. The middle third of each slate range between 2.5 to 2.9, and the bottom third have 2.5 or lower. If an officer has any EOW or RCO AQD in their record, they get a point. This includes AQDs LC1 through LC10. The 1 point for TAO only applies to those officers with an LF6 or LF7 TAO AQD. If an officer has the LN7 early command AQD in their record, they will get 1 quality point. Please validate your AQDs on your OSR and submit any missing designation letters with your preference sheet so you get awarded the correct amount of slating points. We will also use those EOW or TAO letters to update your records so they get added to your OSR for future slates and boards. After the preferences have been received and the slate rankings are complete, the 1DH detailer will begin the slating process. They'll begin with the number 1 ranked officer and compare that officer's preferences to what's available in the fleet based on that class's training track timing. After they best match the Homeport Billet platform, they'll move on to the next officer and work their way down the rest of the slate. We categorize a green slate if we're able to meet one of each prioritized Homeport Billet platform listed by the slating officer. A yellow slate means we are only able to meet 2, and a red slate is 1 or none of the prioritized Homeport Billet platform preferences. On the average slate, 85% of officers are in the green slate category, 10% are in the yellow, and 5% receive a red slate. There was only 1 red slate officer on the most recent slate, and no officers received a red slate on the slate released a few months ago. After the initial slate assignments have been made, the 1DH detailer briefs the PERS 412 branch head on the slate and discusses the why behind each assignment. After the PERS 412 branch head endorses the slate, they brief the PERS 41 director for final approval. The slate announcement email will then be sent out to the class. The approved slate will be attached as a PDF. Understand that the billet you slate to is assigned based on your ability to get through your training track as scheduled and relieve that officer on time. If you experience any personal or professional issues that may delay your report, please reach out to the 1DH detailer early. These issues include experience academic failure or delays in the training track or going limb due. Department heads should expect orders to their ships 2 to 3 months prior to graduating from SWISC. Those orders will be PCS orders to the ship's ultimate duty station and will include the required training track associated with your slated billet. Training tracks for each billet and platform can be found on the My Navy HR website. Please do not send the 1DH detailer a requested training track ahead of receiving orders to your ship. Placement builds each training track and has the big picture on available quotas and the larger fleet's quota priorities for each convening. The 1DH detailer visits every department head class during your time in Newport. That visit includes a community brief covering recent changes in the fleet, along with 1v1 sessions for each prospective department head. Ahead of the 1v1 session, the 1DH detailer has completed a record scrub of each officer in the class and will tell you if they see any important data missing from your OSR and PSR. They'll also tell you when to expect your first projected in-zone look for 04 and provide a summary of what we can see in our systems regarding your completed education, number and name of dependents, completed qualifications, and they'll discuss if there's anything unusual on your record that will need to be corrected or addressed prior to upcoming boards. To wrap things up, we talked about the following topics: 1DH slate timing, prospective billet list, slating calculation, and slate announcement. If you have any questions, please reach out to me at go_swo@navy.mil. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.